Let's talk a little bit about exactly what structural integration is. The Rolf method of structural integration that was developed by Dr. Rolf is a process of working with a structure. There's a series of 10 sessions that constitutes the basic 10-session series is what we call it. And what we do in that series of sessions is systematically work through the body with a very specific protocol of the body, top to bottom, front to back, surface to deep. And we follow these series of sessions, and they're put in a particular order for a reason, because what we're doing is organizing. That's really, I think, the key to understanding structural integration, is that we're integrating the structure by organizing the connective tissue so that the body moves freely and that the body relates to gravity in its most efficient way. Another point I would like to make about structural integration is why we go about working with the connective tissue body. Why is it important to work with the fascia form of connective tissue? Fascia is the organ of shape, the organ of support, Dr. Rolf called it. What that means is that it's the fascia that determines our posture. It's the fascia that connects muscle to muscle and muscle to bone, and there's fascia that wraps around my wrist and my elbow and each joint that I have. Around each muscle I have, there is a sheath of fascia. Around the whole muscle bundle, there's another covering of fascia. There's fascia as a body stocking, a wetsuit that covers my entire surface of my body. There is fascia, connective tissue, that weaves like a webbing all the way through my body. This stuff is everywhere. I mean, connective tissue is everywhere. You know, when I first began to study Dr. Rolf's work, it blew my mind because I saw the anatomy of the body in a completely different light. No longer was I thinking like a dissectionist. What I mean is, no longer was I thinking segmental. No longer was I thinking of the body as these different pieces. You look at muscles and bones and you go, there's a bone from here to here, and there's a bone from here to here, and there's a bone from here to here. And then there's corresponding muscle groups that follow the bones. You look at fascia and it's a completely different picture. You look at the anatomy of fascia and you realize the body is one piece. Definitely there are segments, and what we're doing is working to get the segments integrated and working together with each other. But most importantly is the fact that the body can function as one unified whole. It can be integrated and working effectively and efficiently. And it's such a pleasure to live in a body where you're not feeling the drag of stress and strain. See, what happens with the connective tissue is with aging, with trauma and stress, with repetitive injury or repetitive use, even if it's well-intentioned working out every day, there is an overall effect that happens in the connective tissue where it thickens and hardens and creates a barrier for movement. The connective tissue is designed to slide and glide the layers across each other. In fact, a major component of fascia is collagen, which is put there, it seems, as a lubricative substance so that these layers are lubricated, they slide across each other. What happens then with this age or injury or trauma or repetitive stress is that what was designed to be lubrication becomes glue. And so these layers now are stuck together, and when I reach, instead of these layers being able to slide across each other, they're binding. And so what that does is put strain and stress someplace else. And now my neck hurts when I'm moving my arm. Really, it's not my neck that's hurting. It's the fascia that connects between my arm, my shoulder, my neck, as now there's this whole strain pattern that's moved from one area of my body to the other. In fact, Dr. Rolf had a funny little idiom, she would say, which is, where you think it is, it ain't. For a very learned person, I'm amused that she would say something so offhanded and seemingly uneducated, but her point is really quite deep. The idea that if you're going to follow the symptomology, that is to say, if you're going to work on the spot that hurts, you're probably not going to get much lasting work done. What I'm trained in my structural integration training is to have a bigger picture. Where is this whole web of connective tissue, where is it leading me? If it hurts here, I'm going to pay attention to that, but I know that there's a lot more going on. And so I get to be a little bit of a sleuth, and I get to investigate, and oh, there's a mystery to solve. Does that go here? Does it go there? Is it up? Is it down? Does it go deep? It's really interesting, and sometimes the predictability of it is not there. Sometimes it's really, the body is so creative in the way that it'll throw these strain patterns through the body. Very often there are diagonal connections. If it's the right hip, it's the left knee, and then it hurts on the back and forth and up and down. So you can see why it requires a series of sessions, why we need 10 sessions to systematically, bit by bit, piece by piece, get things unstuck. And so in the 10-session series, we have 7 sessions where we're differentiating. We're taking things apart, getting things unstuck. Why is this binding to that? And why is the knee pulling the hip? And getting all of that tissue smooth and freed up, and with the manual manipulation of the work, we're able to clarify the areas that have become injured and thickened and hardened. And then in the last 3 sessions of the 10-session series is the integration part. That's where we get to restore the natural relationships that a wonderful, healthy human body can have as we walk through life, so that we're integrating the way the arm function is into the back. We're integrating the legs up into the back, so that a lot of our movement is not isolated. And we find then that working with bodies to bring about this natural organization and natural integration brings it into its most efficient relationship with its environment. Not only can we relate to others, to our job, to our pleasures in life, to our hobbies, to raising our kids, but also just to the field of gravity. It can be very freeing for people. It can surpass just a physical sensation and a physiological response. It's amazing when people with chronic pain or people that just have some mild tension that's been chronic are freed from that, how much of a lift the whole person can experience.